You see, the problem is whenever I evaluate like something like an HGH fragment, I always have to evaluate it against growth hormone. So in other words, if I'm taking growth hormone, how much fat burning am I going to get? If I take the fragment, you would think that would elicit more fat burning because it's the fat burning component of GH, right? But it doesn't. It doesn't. So it doesn't work as potently as growth hormone at burning fat. Now, does it burn some fat? Yeah, I think that there's enough studies to show that it will burn some body fat. So is it a complete waste to take? That depends on, if you want to spend the money or not, or if you want to take the injections of it. I think it does work, but I don't necessarily know in some people of how significant it's going to be. The problem is that people take GH and GH fragments and GH releasing peptides thinking that they're going to burn significant amounts of fat, and they actually think that they can eat more food while they're doing this. And what happens is they find they burn no fat and they actually get fatter. And so I always tell people growth hormone works great at burning fat when you're on a diet. So in other words, if you're already dieting hard and you take GH, you recover better, you maintain muscle mass better, and you burn fat better, But if you're not really dieting and you're just taking GH in the off season thinking you're going to stay ripped, that's probably not going to happen for you. Now there are certain people that have an insane metabolism. When I was at the height of my career and I was weighing 300 pounds, relatively lean, when I took GH, it was like, made me a furnace, but I was already a furnace. I didn't need to take the GH. You can see I'm on no drugs now and I'm still ripped. So don't use a person who has a really, really fast genetic metabolism as an indicator. Oh, that guy takes GH, he must be ripped because of the GH. It wasn't the GH. The GH helped a little bit, but it wasn't, the end all do all. And I think that's the mistake people make. If you're going to diet hard on a strict diet and you're going to do your cardio and you're going to watch the food you're eating and you put some GH fragment in there, it'll probably help, a couple of percentage points, which I find to be significant if, in the scheme of things. But a lot of people will not be happy with the results of it. They think they're going to burn, 10 pounds of body fat a week. That's not going to happen. Now, clenbuterol if you look at clenbuterol from a different angle, that's not, related to growth hormone. It's an asthma medication that actually just happens to have fat burning properties. That works way more significantly than GH or GH fragment for that matter. So if I'm looking for the best bang for my buck at burning body fat, clenbuterol is the way to go. But once again, if you don't diet and you take clenbuterol, you might lose a little bit of fat, but you're not going to lose a significant amount.
Angel Chavez, how should insulin be used in the daily GH cycle?
That's very, it's a loaded question because there's different ways to evaluate what's going on when you take GH. First of all, I like to have people take their fasting blood sugars every day before they start GH. Sometimes people have high fasting sugars even before they start GH because they're eating a lot of food. Assuming they don't, and then they take growth hormone, okay, and now they're running high fat. They're over 100 when they wake up in the morning, which really over 90 is high. But I'm saying, let's say they're in the hundreds, because I have people in the hundreds, and I'm like, we got to put you on a long-acting insulin because your body is not handling, the GH is making you too insulin resistant 24 hours a day, and you're running high blood sugars in the morning. That's not good. So usually we try to fix that with a long-acting insulin like Novolin N, Lantus, Tresiba. There's a whole bunch of them. Toujeo. There's a whole bunch of these long-acting insulins. That usually will fix the problem. In some people, however, you fix the problem, but they're still not gaining weight. So in other words, they're taking GH. They're staying pretty lean, but they're just not putting on the weight no matter how much food they eat. Okay. In those instances, I find that people just need a little bit of exogenous fast-acting insulin to help them absorb all the food they're eating because they're eating such an enormous amount of food. They're already relatively lean. So, it's not like the insulin is going to make them fat. And in those people, I will use like a Novolin R, which is a somewhat fast-acting insulin, meaning that you take 10 units of R in the morning, half of it immediately gets released. That's 5 units, which will cover 50 grams of carbs. And then in 2 hours, the other 5 units gets released, and you cover another 50 grams of carbs. So you could basically take a shot of that in the morning and then another shot of it right before meal 4, or 3, I should say. And so that sometimes will kickstart people into growing too, because now they're absorbing their food better because they're taking exogenous fast-acting insulin. So you got to distinguish between slow-acting, what we call basal insulin, which fixes fasting blood sugars, and then fast-acting insulin, which you would only give to people who have very fast metabolisms, who have trouble gaining weight, not to people who grow relatively easily, who get fat easy, because you give them that and then they get fatter. So once again, insulin is not here's the protocol, everyone follow it, like steroids is. It really depends on the situation, and you need to have a blood sugar monitor to know what the situation is, so you can know what your blood sugars are first thing in the morning fasting, 2 hours after your meals, and then make a better assumption. I think people just shotgun the same insulin approach to everyone, and that's why some people get good results, some people become fat slobs, and some people just literally have big problems with it because they just don't need to take that much insulin.
What was the highest dosage you ever saw anyone do with Trenbolone?
I didn't. It wasn't any of my clients, but Aceto told me that he had someone, and I'm not going to say who the coach was that had him do it. They were doing like 1,200 milligrams a week of Trenbolone, and you know what? I bet you there's people doing more than that. That to me is insane, because I know people who go crazy on 100 milligrams, every other day of the stuff, and even at 100 milligrams, every day, which would only give you 700 milligrams for the week. That's pretty high, So what people don't realize is that Trenbolone really jacks your blood pressure up a lot. And, that's why it's very dangerous for your kidneys, because your kidneys should not be under constant, high pressure like that. It also jacks up your nervous system. And that's why a lot of people get hiccups from it. A lot of people get digestive problems for it. People can't sleep because they're overstimulated. So there's this sweet spot of what works, and then there's too much. I've actually lowered the dosages I have guys on, and I think they're doing better, because a lot of guys just can't take it. A lot of guys are like, Dave, I just can't sleep. I feel, or I have indigestion. I said, just stop it. There's no sense in suffering. It's like the Anadrol. If you can't eat on Anadrol in the off season, why would you take it? Even though it's a strong drug, you can't grow if you don't eat, right? So you have to every person's a little different, but even 50 milligrams every other day or 3 times a week is more than enough. Back in the day, we would take 2 Parabones a week. That was 76 milligrams per Parabone. So figure that's 150 milligrams around per week. That's exactly what I'm telling you to take, 50 milligrams of Trenbolone acetate 3 times a week or every other day. That's more than enough. You're going to get all the benefits from it, and you're going to get way less side effects.